However, it was much easier to shut down the concept in political terms by saying it couldn't be done because we would need too many rocket launches, and therefore shut it down, rather than say, hey, we should learn how to go and live and work on the moon and get that material out really fast and start a whole new program. The Carter administration was not going to buy a new program, and it died right then. In Washington, solar-powered satellites have been dead ever since. You just don't mention them. We suggested in the Commission report to review that whole issue again, and that it is time that this nation did.
What is lost if space is colonized not by Westerners, but by the Japanese or by the Soviets?
In human terms, nothing. In U.S. terms, everything. We as a nation will have failed our ancestors. We have devised the greatest constitution for the governance of human affairs, and yet, for some reason or other, we would have turned our back on it and not undertaken what we should do as free men in a free society, and that is to prepare the future for our children and their children, to look after future generations. That was what the United States was founded on. I'm a new American. Maybe I shouldn't have such strong views about it, but I have very strong views about the United States sitting on its backside, doing nothing, while the rest of the world just runs away with space, when we have got everything to give to the world, to give to humankind, to lead humankind out into the cosmos. And we are not doing it because some people say, well, it's too much trouble and it's too expensive, and why don't we do this, and why don't we spend the money down here? It's absolute nonsense. If they have any responsibility for the future generations of this nation, they should learn the sheer science of economics is going to drive us into the ground in the next 50 years. If we do not do it, we will be exactly the same as Spain and Portugal in the 15th and 16th century as they went down the tubes. We will do the same thing, and it'll happen with dizzying speed. What does it matter? It doesn't matter at all if you don't want to have any technical advances, any scientific advances, any additional knowledge, and you want everybody to be on welfare, just like the punks in Manchester. Why should they care? It wasn't their fault. It was the fault of their parents, or as are now third generations, their parents' parents. I watched the British Empire go down the tubes in one easy shot. From 1946 to 1956, it just simply disintegrated. It disintegrated because people gave up caring. And the most important thing is, this is a psychological phenomenon we're talking about, a spiritual phenomenon. If you want your children to live a rotten life, and in a declining economic circumstances where we're the hewers of wood and the drawers of water to all the rest of the world, so be it, Jody. That is your decision. But let us be absolutely certain that that is what will occur. But from the sum total of humanity, it won't make any difference at all. Human beings are going out, Jody. Human beings with all their foibles and differences and opinions and fights and battles and all the luggage that we carry with us here are going out into space, and we're going to carry all the luggage with us, almost inevitably. So if there are humans there whom we don't like, their social organizations at this present time, give them a couple of 100 years out in space, it'll all be different. And it really doesn't matter so long as we have the human spirit. That is what matters. The spirit of exploration, the spirit that got us there. We are going to explore forever. Forever is a long time. And if we are going to just cop out, then all we're doing is saying Western civilization is finished. There are a group of better equipped individuals who are going to go out and open up the space frontier.
Do you believe that, though, that Western civilization doesn't have a unique virtue?
I believe that Western civilization has a tremendous amount to offer, and particularly in the scientific and technological capabilities, and we owe it to the rest of the human race to do this. We are copping out of our responsibility because we have used all the resources of humanity, all the resources of the earth to get where we are, and basically we are paying nothing back. If we cop out of that responsibility, then by God we have missed a total moral responsibility. And that I just cannot stand. I do not think that that is right, and I do not think that this is worthy of the Western civilization. And as far as I'm concerned, if that happens, then indeed Western civilization has failed.
Moral failure begins with the individual in any society, civilization, or nation. Folks in the space community will point the finger at Congress. Folks will accuse and blame the politicians. They indict the apathetic public. But you indict the individual.
Yes, I indict the individual. We have no excuse of all nations in the world, in the United States, we have no excuse to indict the politicians. The politicians do what we tell them to do. And that has always been in this country, and that is the glory and the greatness of it. And if the politicians are doing nothing, it is because we are telling them nothing. And if we are telling them nothing, it is because we don't know enough to tell them. And we get right back into the children sitting around saying, well, I don't want to learn anything that's difficult. I don't think that we should go to school and learn anything that's hard. And that is what we as parents are letting them get away with. The kids don't know the reaction and the impact of not learning. They haven't got enough knowledge to know, but we know, and we have let it happen. It has happened in the past 20 years. I've seen it happen, and that means that that is our failure, our generation. And your generation and the generations coming behind you must never let that happen again, because you won't have a second chance. As it is, we very seriously have foreclosed your options, Jody, in our generation, by not following up with our journey to the moon, and by not keeping up with the technology and watching just letting everything slide and just throwing it away. You've seen the Saturn V rockets, the greatest vehicles ever devised in the mind of man. They're lying around and rusting in the NASA agencies, in the NASA centers, for the simple reason that we never bothered to use them again.